Will General Flynn exoneration impact UFO secret space program disclosure? The dropping of all charges against Lt Gen Michael Flynn brings to an end a lengthy legal battle stemming from the Russian collusion investigation of Donald Trump's presidential campaign and his subsequent administration. While there are certain to be powerful legal consequences for the perjury trap launched by senior FBI officials against Flynn, who had just begun his short stint as Trump's national security advisor, what remains to be answered is why was Flynn targeted? Did it have anything to do with Flynn's knowledge of UFOs, secret space programs, and his new position where he could legally gain access to and disclose such information to Trump, who in turn would be able to disclose it to the general public? It's important to emphasize that as former director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, from July 2012 to August 2014, Flynn would have been briefed on an extensive number of unacknowledged special access programs, USAPs, run by or involving the DIA. Perhaps even more significantly, he would have learned about those USAPs which the DIA director and his deputy had been denied access. USAPs he would have been briefed about included a secret space program run by the US Air Force and the National Reconnaissance Office with the help of the National Security Agency and the DIA. The collaboration of these different Department of Defense entities in USAPs involving space is discussed in my US Air Force Secret Space Program, Shifting Extraterrestrial Alliances and Space Force, published in 2019. Additional USAPs run by major aerospace companies involving reverse engineering captured extraterrestrial technologies would have been of much interest to the DIA director, despite lacking formal oversight responsibilities, as I will shortly show. One of Flynn's responsibilities as DIA director was to coordinate the gathering and analysis of intelligence data concerning the space capabilities of potential US military rivals. This included China, which Flynn had extensively investigated as part of his intelligence portfolio during his military career. At the same time, Flynn and his predecessors as DIA directors were greatly interested in what major aerospace companies were researching, building, and deploying for their confidential customers. A clue into just how much a DIA director and or his deputy is briefed on secret space programs and the reverse engineering of captured alien technologies behind them is gained by examining the case of one of Flynn's predecessors, Vice Admiral Thomas Wilson, and what he knew of such programs. On April 10, 1997, then Rear Admiral Wilson received an informal UFO briefing by former Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell and Stephen Greer, an emergency room physician from North Carolina who would soon after launch the famed Disclosure Project. After Wilson was given information about an unacknowledged special access program, USAP, involving the reverse engineering of a recovered alien spacecraft, he looked into it and was denied access by 3 corporate officials, even though he occupied the concurrent positions of Deputy Director of the DIA and Vice Director for Intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff from November 1994 to September 1997. Wilson was very unhappy with the situation and expressed his frustration to Mitchell and Greer, who both publicly revealed elements of what had happened. In 2019, a 15-page document that Mitchell had acquired of a verbatim interview between Admiral Wilson and a prominent physicist, Dr. Eric Davis, surfaced after Mitchell's death, providing significantly more details of what had happened. Wilson had appealed to the Special Access Program Oversight Committee to be granted access to a reverse engineering program run by the aerospace company, but was denied. Furthermore, Wilson was threatened to stop his inquiries or his military career would suffer. Wilson acquiesced, and after a short assignment to the CIA, was subsequently promoted to Vice Admiral and became Director of the DIA from July 1999 to July 2002. Importantly, Wilson was backed by his superior, Lt Gen Patrick Hughes, who had sat in on the April 1997 briefing along with other DIA officials, ensuring that the Wilson incident was now part of the institutional memory of the DIA rather than an isolated incident involving one official that would be forgotten. Shortly after his July 2002 retirement, Wilson met with Davis in October and disclosed details of what had happened in the hope of learning more about the corporate-run program. I covered the October 2002 meeting in a series of 3 articles. What the Admiral Wilson affair tells us is that there is a tightly controlled secrecy system in place to restrict access to USAPs conducted by corporations that are actively reverse engineering extraterrestrial technologies. While DIA directors have oversight of the end products produced for the Air Force and Navy, electromagnetically propelled anti-gravity spacecraft, they lack the formal power to investigate what's happening in corporate-run facilities, many of which are situated on military bases, according to multiple insiders. Consequently, it is certain that Lt Gen Flynn inherited the institutional memory of the Wilson incident when he became DIA Director in 2012. Flynn would not only have been officially briefed about USAPs related to an Air Force and NRO-run secret space program, but also learned about which corporations were conducting reverse engineering programs that he and the DIA did not have access to. The Special Access Program Oversight Committee that denied Wilson access to one of these programs would presumably have similarly denied Flynn access if he had made similar inquiries. Consequently, Flynn would have known that a higher institutional authority would have been required to override the Special Access Program Oversight Committee in order to grant the DIA need-to-know access to such USAPs. Consequently, the danger posed to the deep state by Flynn being appointed Trump's National Security Advisor becomes all too clear. Flynn was in the position to advise Trump to grant the DIA Director and the National Security Advisor need-to-know access to corporate-run reverse engineering programs protected by the Special Access Programs Oversight Committee. Furthermore, Flynn could arrange for an official briefing where Trump would learn about the secret space program that involved the US Air Force, NRO, National Security Agency, and DIA. After such an official briefing, Trump would have been in a position to publicly disclose such information if he believed it was in the national interest. The perjury trap set up by corrupt FBI deep state officials against General Flynn was not only a travesty of justice orchestrated by the deep state to sabotage the Trump presidency, but was also to prevent Flynn advising Trump in ways that would undermine the decades-long secrecy system. The exoneration of General Flynn makes it now possible for him to be reappointed to a senior position in the Trump administration and to facilitate the disclosure of a secret space program and corporate-run alien reverse engineering USAPs. This has been Dr. Michael Salla with exopolitics.org. I have a backup site where you can read all my articles at michaelsalla.com. Thank you for listening and subscribing to my YouTube channel. Aloha.